everyone, Zen Guardian here, and in this video I wanted to update you guys on my Trials of Osiris Cheaters Exposed video. I received a lot of feedback on that video and I appreciate every single comment that I got. It really does help push the conversation and help push the awareness of this kind of thing, but I was also getting some comments and stuff like that that I wanted to address in this video and just help you guys be a little bit more informed as to what exactly is happening, what Bungie's doing about it, and just continuing the conversation just a little bit longer. Now, I don't want to drag out this topic any more than it has to be, but it's important to understand exactly what's going on, and I feel like a lot of people were actually more confused than understood exactly what's happening. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is some of the criticism that I was receiving of people saying, well, if you were DDoSed, you would have been kicked out of everything. Your internet would have been wiped. You would have had to reset all these other things because that is how DDoS attacks work. And I wanted to explain to you guys exactly what a DDoS attack is and exactly how it works so that you can better understand what's going on. Not every DDoS attack is going to wipe your internet. Not every DDoS attack is going to cause you to call your ISP or anything like that, kick you off of every device that has internet connected in your house. That's not how every DDoS attack works. So I'm going to explain to you guys exactly how they work in their purest form. So basically, a DDoS attack is a denial of service attack. They are denying you of your request to join an activity or game. So how it works is when you load up Trials of Osiris, when you load up a strike, when you load up a raid, when you load up a heroic story mission, you are asking Destiny to join that activity. You are asking to join that server and complete that activity. And what Destiny says is, sure, you can come on in and you can play this activity in this server right now because you've just requested it. What a DDoS attack is, or a denial of service attack is they are denying you of your request to do so. So basically what's happening is you're flying into a Trials of Osiris match and you're asking Destiny and Trials, hey, I want to fly into this match, I want to play this game, I want to be in this activity right now. And the DDoSer is saying, well, you're not going to be allowed to come in. Instead, a bunch of fake accounts or a bunch of fake logins are going to overload that server and push you out. This doesn't mean that it's going to push you out of every internet device in your house. This doesn't mean that it's going to wipe your IP clean. This doesn't mean any of that. This means that they have denied you of your request to join that activity. Now, before we go any further in this, I want to let you guys know I'm not an online engineer. I'm not a hacker myself. I'm not versed in this, but this is essentially how it works at a very raw level. Of course, there's guys like Lizard Squad and there's guys that are big hackers like that can take down Xbox Live, that can take you out of everything in your house as far as internet goes. But what's happening here is usually one, maybe two people working together to DDoS you and push you out of the game. Now, a lot of people were also saying, well, if you were DDoSed in that clip that you showed at the beginning of that video, you would have been kicked out of party chat as well. And on PS4, this may be the case, but on Xbox One, it is not. Please let me explain. On Xbox One, both Destiny runs on a server and Party Chat runs on its own server. So if I was going to be kicked out of Party Chat, the attacker or the hacker would have had to hack or DDoS Xbox Live itself locally on my console to push me out of Party Chat. They don't work in cohesion together. Unlike Game Chat in Destiny, where everyone is still in that same server, of course, if I get kicked from that game, I would not be able to talk any longer to my friends and it would have kicked me out of that Game Chat. But on Party Chat, specifically on Xbox One, I'm not 100% sure on PS4, Party Chat runs on its own server. It is still entirely possible for a DDoS attack to come through and kick me out of Party. It's also entirely possible for a DDoS attack to come through and kick me out of Xbox Live as a whole. But that is not what happened there. What happened there was I was kicked and DDoSed out of the Destiny server. That is why I was kicked back to the title screen. You can even be DDoSed and kicked just out of the game where you're just kicked back to orbit. But I was DDoSed back to the title screen. There are different levels of this, and there are some people that understand that, but there are also some people that are so accustomed to Lizard Squad level DDoS attacks that wipe basically the entire internet clean that they just don't understand exactly how they work. But that is essentially how they work. They are a denial of service request from the hacker to push a real player out of the game and to force fake accounts or fake logins into the server in exchange for you. Now, the reason why the host of a match is usually the one that's kicked is because the host is the one that is hosting that match, i.e. being the server for that match. So it's a lot easier for DDoS attackers to pinpoint the host and push them out. That does not mean that they can't DDoS the other people in the match. It just means that it is a lot easier for them to push out the host because you're that much more visible. That is one of the most common comments that I was seeing in that video, and it was just of people who aren't informed, really, and that's really all it comes down to. So there are different levels to DDoS. It's not always going to be an internet wipe, and that was one of the main things that I wanted to bring up in this video. Also, one thing that I didn't do in that video was I didn't put these guys' gamer tags who did this on screen, and the main reason why I did this was because even though they're cheaters and even though they aren't playing fair and they're causing the community a lot of problems, they still don't deserve to be witch hunted or just sent a bunch of hate. So I'm not gonna put people on blast like that. I am going to show the community my personal experience, but I'm not going to put people's personal gamer tags and stuff out there like that for them to receive a bunch of hate, because if they do stop and if they don't have that problem anymore, it's not fair that as people watch that video and see those gamer tags for them to receive hate. But one thing I didn't mention in that video was these guys' stats. Now, again, not putting these guys' gamer tags on screen, you guys are gonna kind of have to take my word for it, but these guys were on a 15 win streak and they were at 1700 plus elo each. Now, the kicker here is these guys' KDs. Typically, if you're 1700 elo, you should be a positive KD. You should have the skill enough to get to 1700 without having a negative KD. That is just kind of how it works. Those are the kind of things that you guys need to look for before you report and before you do what you have to do to put these guys on blast. But what we did is we looked at these guys' stats, and like I said, they were on a 15 win streak. They were 1700 plus elo, but their KDs were 0.8, 0.68, and 1.2. Now, what that says to me is that these guys are doing something that's not fair, that is a form of cheating to get to where they've gotten with those super low KDs, because it proves that they're not as talented as their stats say that they are, or as some of their stats say that they are. They also had win percentages under 65%, which really doesn't show too well on ELO stats. Now, one of my flawless partners, Nathan, shout outs to you, bro, he actually left a comment in that video saying that they won that 2v3, and they did. And that proves even further that these guys weren't skilled players. If these guys had, 1700 ELO, 75% wins, a 1.5 plus each, it would have been a lot more believable that I had simply lagged out. It would have been so much more easy for me to say, you know what, I'm not going to make a video on this. I don't think it was a problem right here, right now, because these guys have high stats and these guys know what they're doing. And also, it would have made even more sense if they had beat my boys Nathan and Rain in that 2v3 scenario, which they did not. So it was very clear to me that these guys were underskilled, and the only real skill that they had was to DDoS the host and push me out of the game to give them that upper hand. If they were higher skilled players, I probably would have accepted the fact that I was just pushed out of the game via lag. Now, another thing that I wanted to address is something Bungie actually just discussed recently, and that is the error codes. In that video, at the beginning, you guys will see that I got a Weasel error code, and there was a lot of you that said, well, you received an error code, so there's no way that that could be a DDoS. Untrue. Typically, no matter what happens, whether you're kicked, whether you're DDoS, no matter what, you will receive an error code. There is an entire forum on Bungie.net that discusses these error codes, discusses their mistakes, discusses their problems, discusses what they mean. There are multiple forums on Bungie.net that explain these error codes in full, and you can go check those out if you'd like. But no matter what happens, you are going to receive an error code. I don't think I've ever been kicked from the game and not received an error code. And sometimes what will happen is you will receive an error code, but it happens so fast that you don't see it. Now, you'll go from being in a match to being kicked into the home screen, but sometimes that 0.1 second is your error code coming up and telling you that you've been weaseled, you've been babooned, you've been anteater, whatever. And that is how the game is designed. If you get kicked, or if you get DDoSed, or if whatever happens to you, you will receive some sort of error code. They're not always accurate, they're not always on point, they don't always explain the entire situation, but you will receive them. So I did receive an error code, but that doesn't mean that it was sent naturally through Bungie to tell me, hey, your internet is messed up. And again, Bungie have fully acknowledged on their site in their weekly update, the very first topic that they talked about, that DDoS attacks are a real thing and it is a problem in the Crucible right now. It's possible that it happens in other areas of the game. It's not just the Crucible, raids aren't exempt, things like that, but it does happen and Bungie have acknowledged it to the fullest extent. Now, the purpose of this video isn't to drag on this conversation any longer than it needs to be. I personally don't want to talk about it anymore. This will be my last video on it. I just want you guys to be a little bit more informed and to understand what's going on just a little bit more than some of you currently do. So just going over the bullet points here, DDoS attacks does not always mean that you're going to be wiped from your internet. It doesn't mean that your ISP needs to be called. It doesn't mean your water bill isn't going to get paid. It simply means you have been denied of your service or request to join a given activity and have been replaced with fake logins via server overload. That is the raw definition of a DDoS attack coming from somebody who is not an online engineer or a hacker themselves. The second thing, on Xbox One, Destiny runs on a server and Party Chat runs on a server. So if you get DDoS from Destiny, that does not necessarily mean that you are going to be kicked from your Party Chat. It simply means that you have been kicked from your request to join an activity in Destiny. It is very possible for a hacker to kick you out of your Party Chat, but they would have to DDoS or hack Xbox Live as a whole to get access to your Party Chat. The next bullet point, not every time that you get kicked from the game or that you lag from the game is a DDoS attack. Not everybody is a hacker, and you need to understand exactly when it's happening. Point number 4, you will always receive some sort of error code when you are kicked from the game. Again, it doesn't always pop up on your screen, but the error code has happened. The game is designed in a way that if you get kicked, you receive an error code. They're not always accurate. Bungie have acknowledged the fact that they are inaccurate and that they have a problem and that it is something that needs to be addressed, but you will always receive them. Even if it's just a millisecond flash, you will always receive an error code when you get kicked from the game. And finally, the last point, please do your research and please make sure that you look at ELO stats via destinytrialsreport.com or you do some sort of external research before you go on a report spree. I've said it before, I'll say it again, it is not fair for people to be reported if it is just a situation of lag. So you need to make sure that if some things aren't just adding up and if some things don't make sense to you, put it together and understand that you've either been DDoSed or these people just aren't playing fair. And that is probably one of the most important things for you guys to understand. So to wrap this all up, I will say that since Bungie have made that announcement that the Banhammer is out and they're swinging it around, I haven't seen as much lag in Trials, and I also have yet to be kicked in Trials this weekend. I'm not saying that it's 100% fixed. I'm also not saying that I'm exempt. But for me, I've seen a lot less of these issues since that announcement has been made. And just understand that I'm one player, guys, okay? I play this game just as much as you do. I'm not a Destiny or online guru, but we have all been gaming for a while now. We all have experienced the DDoS in some way, whether it was the Christmas when Lizard Squad took down Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. And again, this was an entire network of hackers working together to pull the entire infrastructure down, or as players in Destiny being DDoSed and kicked locally out of a Trials match. We've all basically experienced it at some point. I know it's a lot of information. I know there's a lot to handle. There's a lot to talk about, but that's everything as far as I know and my personal opinion on the matter. I've given you guys my experience. I've given you guys my personal opinion on it. I've given you guys my explanation on it, and Bungie have addressed it in the best way that they can by swinging that Banhammer around and putting people and cheaters in their place. So I appreciate every comment that I got. I appreciate every time that you guys come and interact with my videos at all. So thank you for that. But if you did enjoy the video or it helped you understand what's going on a little bit better, hit it with a thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe on your way out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. It's been ZG. I'm out.